Hey folks, I have read your leadership worksheets today and have provided feedback to you. Know that this week's feedback is going to be done through highlights and comments and through the little post-it notes. It'll look like a little blue icon, or at least it's blue on my side, that tells you that there's a comment provided by your faculty. I didn't put additional comments in the rubric because it's kind of redundant, aside from the wrap-up or the summary, so you'll have a comment there from me. It is so important that you're going in after each assignment and reading your faculty feedback as well as your peer feedback on public comments like discussion boards or your voice threads. One of the it's great, if you're learning from your faculty, that's my greatest goal. But sometimes you learn things from your peer group and from feedback. So make sure you're getting as much feedback as you can. I love this assignment. My hope is that it didn't feel overly onerous or too tedious. The idea was to really get you into talking about leadership styles and really strategic leadership. And I am so impressed with how fortunate many of you are in having really tactical or strategic leaders and how thoughtful it appears that their leadership styles are. So know that that's not common, and I'm just so grateful that that is your experience. One of the styles and then theories that came through really frequently was the transformational leadership style, which I think many of us aspire to. It certainly was my preferred leadership style in my own practice. I will admit that I tend to be kind of autocratic and a little bit more I know the right way, and I really would prefer you do it the right way. So over years, I've grown to kind of polish those edges and be more focused on a democratic style and more transformational and less transactional. I do think when we think about leadership behaviors, that transactional style is very much in line with the manager role, with the day-to-day operations and the logistics. Whereas transformational leadership really comes more in line with leading others, with truly leading, not just managing tactical stuff, but sharing a mission and vision and a strategy for the future. So my hope is that you've finessed those differences. Your classmate Leslie talked about her leader in her interview, who really sounds like he has a really good skill set with transformational leadership. Leslie wrote, Scott's leadership style resembles the transformational style first conceptualized by James McGregor Burns. This leadership style consists of the leaders motivating staff to work toward a common goal by being fair, honest, and just, encouraging new ideas, providing intellectual stimulation, and motivation to achieve goals of change. I think Leslie did a great job of sorry, I needed a minute, of really kind of encapsulating what it means to be a transformational leader. And I think Leslie did a really nice job of wording that. She did have a citation from a published article, so that was also great. As you go through your career, you're going to find lots of leaders have lots of different perspectives and lots of different styles. My hope is that you get a sampling of lots of different styles and that you find one that you aspire to be, maybe that you're mentored by someone. Someone talked about mentoring and how important that was. That was actually leadership advice. Super great advice. Find a mentor. The other thing that someone actually mentioned the book, and someone, I'm sorry, I can't remember which one of you did it. The book that is titled Crucial Conversations, and then there's a follow-up to Crucial Confrontations. It's a book that was written by a series of 4 authors, and their name is completely escaping me. If I remember, I will put those links in along with my announcement this week, so you can take a look at those. The skill of crucial conversations was mentioned repeatedly in many of your in many of your worksheets about how important it was that staff learn to talk with their leadership and what that looked like. The other thing that came across repeatedly was the ethical challenge of rationing resources. I don't think anybody used those words, but that's really what we're talking about. When you have a finite pool of resources, whether it's money or staff or technical resources, but you have a vast sea of patients, and then making the decision, how do I allot a limited resource and fairly and equally distributed to people who need access to them, and how challenging that was, especially from an ethical perspective, when we think about how we parcel out healthcare and healthcare resources. Many of you talked about that quite effectively. Tied into that, when we think about the ethical practice of how we manage resources, staffing was repeatedly mentioned as being the biggest challenge for many of your leaders. And when we think about how daunting it is to get a fully staffed unit of highly qualified individuals, which almost never happens, and then we have the competing demands of that vast population of patients who need high quality health care. What do we do, and how do we make those decisions in how we allot resources, especially our human resources? So I was so pleased to see that many of you touched on those topics and that your leaders were exploring those and the complexity of what that looked like. So super, super good job. I want to talk just briefly about next week's work. Your part one of your healthcare project, your healthcare quality project, is due at the end of week 4. As you go about this, I'm going to encourage you to take this kind of one piece at a time. Think about and talk with the people in your department about a specific quality issue that is not currently meeting standards. It could be your falls rate, maybe your infection rate for indwelling catheters, or maybe it is some kind of infection rate of some other kind. Maybe it's the use of restraints. What is the thing that you guys just aren't quite there and you're still struggling with? I want you to talk about what that looks like from a department level. What was your goal? Where are you now? And then talk about the implications that has on your unit. Specifically, you need to talk about how that issue is being measured and how it's being addressed. How do you know if you're meeting it? How do you know you're not meeting it? And then what is the specific plan that your organization has put in place to address the quality issue? Then you're going to talk about the financial impact. You may not be able to get dollars and cents from your organization, and if you can't, just acknowledge that, but then go on to look at national trends. If your quality issue is patient falls, and you can't get your hands on the dollar figure of what that costs within your organization, step outside and look at the national cost. There's lots of literature that addresses the cost of quality issues. So I want you to preferably, I'd like you to deal with it from a department level. If that's not practical for a variety of reasons, I want you to look at it at a national level. I want you to talk dollars and cents, and I want you to be specific. Don't tell me that it costs a lot or it's a big expense. What does it look like? What's the dollar figure on these types of quality issues? So you're going to take a little bit of time to find that information. The other thing you're going to do is you're going to look at the regulatory bodies. What does Joint Commission say? If you're part of a Veterans Health Hospital, what does the VA say? What does our quality assurance folks say? Go in and look at their websites, at their quality papers, and just mention what your regulatory bodies say, and use the ones that are appropriate for your organization. If you're in a private hospital, commenting on what the Veterans Hospital says and what their regulatory bodies say about quality is probably not as relatable as it would be to talk about maybe Joint Commission or ARHQ. Okay, so that's the next step. And then the last one, I want you to talk about nurse leaders. This paper really needs to have the slant of a nurse leader perspective. So if you have a specific quality issue, you've addressed how it's being measured and then how it's being addressed. What's the plan in place to fix it? You've dealt with the financial issues, and then you've talked about the regulatory bodies. You're going to wrap this up by saying, and this is the role the nurse leader has in either contributing to the problem being a problem, or what's the nurse leader's role in actually fixing the problem. I want you to talk about this pretty deeply, because that really is a heavy focus. And last but not least, you have to do this in the magic of APA formatting. I want to remind you that APA formatting is not just periods and sentence structure. It is the flow of ideas. It's the organization of your paper. At this point, I don't need you to do an abstract. I need you a title page that's properly formatted. You need your running heads. You need your page numbers. You need to use level headings. And if that wording sounds weird, if headings or level heading sounds odd and that's not something you're familiar with, go into the resources within our Blackboard site, open your APA book, and look at what are headings. Headings help you organize your paper so that each section kind of has its own title, has its own guide, so that when I read a section leveled financial impact of patient falls, I know that in the next couple paragraphs, you're going to be specifically addressing the financial impact of patient falls. Level headings guide your writing, they also guide your reader. So if I'm in a section and I'm reading and I'm struggling to figure out exactly what you're dealing with in this section, I can at least know what by a heading, if I read a heading, then I'll know, okay, I'm not seeing what they think they're writing, but at least I know the direction you're going. So sometimes it gives your reader a little bit of context of if there's a gap in your clarity in writing or maybe some confusion in how you approach the topic, I at least know what I'm looking for. As would a reader if this was published in a paper. Go in and look at articles that have been published in peer-reviewed journals. They all have level headings. They tell you what's in the section. Normally, you're going to use a level 1 heading to cover chapters, and then you're going to use subheadings, a level 2 and level 3, in sequential order to further break down more granular data. I want you to spend some time perfecting this. I know some of you may be rolling your eyes and going, I have no idea why this lady wants us to use this. I assure you that as you move forward in your educational programming, if you move into a graduate degree, you publish a poster with a team of colleagues, you need to know what APA looks like and understand that it isn't just a reference list. It isn't just a title page, that it's actually an encompassed professional writing style. And I want you to fine tune that so that when you present your paper, that should be 5 to 7 pages and should have 5 to 7 resources that are not your textbook, that it looks like that it's a polished professional piece of work. Know that that's my expectation, and my hope is that I'm not the first one to say, hey, this is pretty important, nor should I be the last one guiding your education that shares that information with you. That is all for my notes. I think I have covered everything I need to. Folks, know that I'm here. Remember the logistics, the who, what, when, where, how kinds of questions. Use the Ask the Professor link. Anything personal to you, your grade, feedback that you're given, or you're just floundering and you're not sure what to do, and it's specific to your situation, do not ever hesitate to email me and set up a time to chat by phone, or we can email back and forth until you feel better about things. Online learning can feel like you're in a no man's island. Please know that is not my approach to this course. I also get that if you are just ready to plug and play and you don't need additional feedback, know that I'm not going to stalk you. I'm not going to keep bothering you. But I do want you to know that I'm here. So however, whatever your needs are, if you want to just cruise along and keep your head down, I'm okay with that. If you have a need, know that I'm okay with that too. I will be thinking about you. I hope you guys are having a great week. As I said in my weekly announcement, I am a new Nana. She's absolutely lovely. I would show lots and lots of pictures of her, but that's probably not as professional as I would like to be. But no, in my head, I'm sharing lots and lots of pictures with you. I hope that whatever is going on in your plate, that you are able to do some self-care, that you have been outside to enjoy this early spring weather, that you have taken some time to cuddle somebody that loves you, that you're eating well, that you're finding time to rest. Remember, you're a nurse, and this isn't easy stuff. If nursing was easy, everybody would do it. They wouldn't even go to medical school. That's an inside joke. Be in touch. Let me know how you are. Y'all take care.